Welcome to this free Adobe Premiere Pro course. This course is part of a larger course that you can access from the link below this video. But these free tutorials will get you up and running on Adobe Premiere Pro. Let's get started. Video editing is storytelling. You need the right tools and skills to craft your story. With Adobe Premiere Pro, you can weave video, audio, text, photography, visual effects together to powerfully communicate your story to your audience. I've used video editing throughout my career, from entry-level marketing roles all the way up to global marketing director. Why? Because video is both emotive and rich in information. Show, don't tell. This course is for you, beginners who want to leverage all of the tools at your disposal in Adobe Premiere Pro. To achieve this, we'll create a 60-second commercial for an athleisure brand. From scratch, step by step. We'll start at the very beginning, from setting up your very first project using best workflow practices, to editing high-quality video clips seamlessly together, to perfecting your visuals by reframing your shots, and learning how to change aspect ratio to CinemaScope. We'll add visual effects like slow motion, stabilization, adding green screen footage, tracking blur in the background, reversing footage, and adding images. We'll learn to add realism and adjust tone through color correction and color grading, increase focus on our characters by using vignettes, and even change time from day to night. Learn how to use video transitions in different ways to achieve smooth pacing, adding dialogue, a soundtrack, and sound effects to construct your narrative, to layering in additional messaging by adding text and logos, and making your videos more accessible through subtitles, and sharing your message with your audience through web and social media. By blending all of these creative skills together, you will learn how to deliver powerful messages to your audience using Adobe Premiere Pro. My name is Cathal McCarthy and I am a certified Adobe Premiere Pro Professional. By enrolling in this course, you'll get access to a library of tutorials on how to deliver professional videos. And you will learn the skills to edit videos that you will be proud of. And let's start making this commercial. Routines empower. Athleisure brand. Welcome and thank you for enrolling in this Adobe Premiere Pro course. I'm looking forward to working with you on this 60-second test commercial. In this section, we will go through what you will need for this course. So first of all, you will need Adobe Premiere Pro 2022 or 2023. Let's click on it. We can see it loading here. And your layout should look like this if you have this version of Adobe Premiere. This course is primarily for Adobe Premiere Pro 2022. If you have Adobe Premiere Pro 2020 or later, there will be some minor differences, but it should work fine. Versions before that, however, like CS6, are probably too different for these tutorials to be applicable, so I would recommend upgrading if possible. You can do this by going into the Creative Cloud app on your computer if you have it installed and scrolling down to Premiere Pro and seeing, does it say up to date with a green button there? Or if it doesn't, on the right hand side, it will say update here. At the moment I have open because mine is up to date. So I can click on that panel there and it will disappear. If you don't have the ability to upgrade through the Creative Cloud, I recommend going to the Adobe Premiere section of the website and getting a free trial, or if you have the budget, signing up for one of the subscription options. And we can scroll down through the page here to see what are the features of Adobe Premiere Pro, and we can also go through what's new in the latest version. Also scroll across to the showcase, which shows movies and TV shows that use Adobe Premiere Pro along with other Adobe products in their creation. But if I go back and if I click into system requirements, we can see here what are the system requirements needed if you are going to be using the latest version of this software. First of all, let's look at Windows. So we'll click here, which will bring us down. You can see all of the requirements that are needed for running Adobe Premiere Pro 2022 on a Windows machine. In terms of Mac OS, we can scroll down to this section here and see that Mac OS version 10.15 Catalina is required for Mac. I can check this myself by clicking on the Apple logo and saying about this Mac, and I can see that I'm okay. I'm using version 12.5.1 and my processor and memory are powerful enough to run this software. But these are the minimum requirements that you'll need. I have found from my own experience that I've had old laptops that don't have this spec and it has still worked, if a little slowly. So you might get away with it, but it might be a little bit frustrating if your computer isn't powerful enough. Might be a little bit slower. Next up is our exercise files. You can download them from the link below this video in the description. Just to be aware, the file size of this folder is just over 600 megabytes. So make sure you are connected to Wi-Fi and it might take a little bit of time to download this folder. Next, if you locate your exercise files, which you would have downloaded, they may be on your desktop or in your downloads folder. These are all the files that you will need to complete this course. So I have provided everything that you'll need within this exercise files folder to make it easy for you to access them. And if we quickly go through them, you can see that we have documentation, exports, graphics, project files, sound effects, soundtrack, and video. Let's double click the video folder, and as you can see, the 28 videos that are needed for this course are all available for you in here. They've been downloaded from pexels.com, the soundtrack has been downloaded from pixabay.com, and these sound effects have been downloaded from pixabay.com also. The project files are all here for you, so if you want to skip a section, you can click into one of these files to start off in the next section without having to complete the previous section. We have some graphics in there also. We have our exports folder, which includes all of the formats of our final video. So you can view the final commercial in here. And then finally, we have our credits section within the documentation folder, which credits all of the wonderful creators that created the content that we are using in our commercial and provided it royalty free on pixabay.com and pexels.com. These exercise files are most likely in your download section or your desktop after you've downloaded them. I like to drag and drop my exercise files into my favorite section to make it easily accessible. And I also like to right click it and make an alias or a shortcut, which means I can then quickly access it from the desktop. However, before we begin, it's important to know what we are making and why. So what we are doing is we are creating a test commercial for an athleisure brand in Adobe Premiere Pro. A test commercial isn't a real commercial, it's a display of what you can create when making a commercial. This can be used for your portfolio, for example. Similarly, athleisure brand is a generic name for a brand name. It's not a real brand. It's just a name that we're going to use for the purposes of this lesson. Many famous film directors and documentary makers also make commercials because it is a way of obviously making money, but also it is a way of experimenting new skills and new ways of movie making in a commercial environment. Next, let's talk about why we're making this athleisure brand commercial. Our goal is to learn how to professionally edit in Adobe Premiere Pro, and we need the skills in order to do that. A test commercial is a great way of doing that because it's multimedia. It has video, audio, text, visual effects, soundtrack, sound effects, color correction, color grading, all rolled into one. So it is a great way of learning these skills for any video project. You can then use the final video that you create as part of your portfolio in order to monetize these skills. Next, let's talk about what is an athleisure brand. Well, as per Wikipedia, athleisure, a type of hybrid clothing, is a fabricated style of clothing typically worn during athleisure activities and in other settings such as at the workplace, at school, and at other casual or social occasions. In recent years, it has become more acceptable to wear gym clothes all day, whether the wearer exercises the day or not. So with our test commercial, we want to raise brand awareness for our athleisure brand and to let people know that we have clothing for each stage of the day, from morning to afternoon to evening to nighttime. And we will do that by putting our ad across multiple platforms, including web and social media. So the next question is, what is our concept? How are we going to achieve this? Our concept is that having a balanced daily routine empowers you to live the life that you truly want to live. And our athleisure brand empowers you to do this by providing the range of clothing that we provide for throughout the day. We are going to lift the letters U and P from the words routines empower in order to use this word up throughout each video clip as a common thread to tie all of the clips together and to bring in our main message at the end of the commercial. Okay, let's move on to our next lesson, where we will go through what we need in terms of software, system requirements, and the supplied exercise files. Let's go. Welcome to section 2. Setting up your project with a smooth workflow is the key to the success of your project, both now and in the future. It's like building the foundations of a house. If you rush them and they're not quite right at the start, you'll encounter all kinds of problems in the future. We'll start at the beginning by opening Adobe Premiere Pro. We'll name our file. We'll set our workspace as editing. Set up our file structure using best practice. Learn how to find high quality content for our project. And we'll import our footage. And lastly, we'll organize our content into bins. So we're going to carefully lay the foundations of our video project by following best practice. Let's get started. In this lesson, we're going to learn how to set up a project. So first of all, we will open Adobe Premiere Pro 2022. It will take a little while to open because it is a powerful software. But once it is open, you can see that it automatically loads this sample media. These are some clips that you can use that if you want to start practicing, you can use them right away. What we're going to do is we're going to view the videos for our project. So I'm going to go up to my desktop because this is where my exercise files are saved. Your exercise files might be in your downloads folder if you've downloaded them for the purpose of this course. I will select exercise files and then I'm going to click on video. In here are all of the clips that we're going to use in our project. I have downloaded all of these clips for you and they are in your exercise files. This should speed up the process for you. I sourced all of these video clips from pexels.com, and in the next lesson we're going to go through in more detail how you can source high quality video content like this from pexels.com. It has a range of amazing content creators that have supplied this high quality video content royalty free for us to use. So a huge thank you to them. If we zoom in here, we can see that if we scroll over a clip, we can scrub through it and see a preview of the video to see, is this the particular take of the video that we want to use? And if we scroll over the name, we can see all of the details about the video clip. So what you can do is when you're setting up your project, you can actually choose what clips you want to import into your video by clicking on them. And we can deselect them by clicking them again. If you feel you can't see the icons, you can scroll this button here, right and left, to make them larger and smaller. But first of all, let's rename our sequence. So we will call it athleisure-commercial. We won't import any video yet. What we'll do is we'll go to our project location to make sure we're saving our project file in the right location. So I'll click on choose location. I'll choose my desktop. And I'm going to click on exercise files. I'm going to click on project files because I like to save my project files in the one folder. As you can see, completed project files are there also. So these are all of the completed project files that I have provided for you. So you can choose between doing all of the sections within this course with me and doing them all yourself, or if you wish, at the end of each section, there is a completed project file ready for you in that folder. So if you want to skip through certain sections, but then have a completed project file at the end of that section, it is available in this folder. We're going to choose this folder for the project file that we're working on, and then we are going to go up to project name. And again, we're going to call it Athleisure Commercial. So I'm happy with my project name, my project location. I'm not going to bring in any footage yet. We've set the sequence name. So I'm ready to click create. This creates our new project. This will open up our project, which is called our workspace. Now your workspace might look similar or it might look different to this. So the first thing we need to do is make sure that we have the same layout. To do this, we're going to need to navigate up to Window, Workspaces, Editing. Now we all have the editing workspace. And next, let's go to Window, Workspaces, Reset to Saved Layout. So this means that we've reset the editing workspace so that we all have the same layout for all of the lessons moving forward. Next, let's import some footage. So click on Import and select the first two clips and choose Import. As you can see, they are now in our project panel. And they've also been added to our sequence. You can click on name here to sort your files by name. It makes it slightly easier to view them. Up above that is our source panel. It's kind of like a preview panel before adding video content to your sequence. Beside that is our program panel, which is a view of our sequence, which will be the final exported video at the end of all of our work. And below that is the sequence window, which is the area that we'll be working in to put all of our content together. So let's go back to our project window and delete those two files that we imported. Deleting these will also delete them from our sequence automatically. But it's important to know that this will not delete the original files, just the links to those files from this project. The files remain intact on your computer or on your hard drive. Well done! You've just learned how to set up your project. In the next lesson, we're going to learn how to find high quality content. Next lesson, finding high quality video. So if we click into the video folder of our exercise files, you can see there that there are 28 video clips. These clips have been really well shot with people from around the world. I sourced them from pexels.com, and this is a great resource that you can use to find video footage. For example, you can type in something like night sky, hit return, and it will show you a selection of videos that you can choose from. Now, for example, if I was looking for some night sky footage, I can scroll over them and they will do autoplay. And then if I want to see a bit more detail, I can click into that particular video and press play in higher definition on a larger screen size. So this is a really good way of previewing video footage and then seeing which ones that you'd like to download from the website. Now this one in particular I didn't download because it was changing between different scenes. I wanted footage that was just one scene. So for example, maybe I would choose this clip here. It's all one shot and it's something that I can use in my project. You can see here the license, it is free to use, no attribution required. But if you want to learn a bit more, you can click through to here and see that they're free to use. Attribution is not required, but it is preferred because giving credit is always appreciated. And you can modify the photos and videos from Pexels, so you can be creative and edit them as you like, which is fantastic. It's exactly what we're looking for. So you can see the various uses you can use them for there, and I suppose what isn't allowed is there, and you can read through those, but we are not going to be doing any of those things in this project, so we're okay to use these clips. You can view how many views have been used in each clip there, and you can also choose from a selection of resolutions. You can see here that there's everything up to 4K resolution. We're going to choose Full HD for our project. And as you can see there, we can say thank you to Alex Fu from Pexels by copying there and attributing it to him as part of our project. I can see my downloaded file here. If I click the little arrow, it will open it in the folder where it is saved, and I will then copy it from here into my video folder within my project to make sure all my videos are together. So you can see here's the folder I have with all my videos, and I can copy and paste it across, and then I can rename it. You can sign up to save your download history, which is something that I recommend, because if you have put a project together using clips from pexels.com, it is good to be able to show that you downloaded them from the website under those license terms if ever anybody has any questions of where you sourced the footage. So as you can see here, when I'm logged in, I can go into my collection section and I can go straight into my download section and I can view all the clips that I've downloaded within my account. Whereas if I had downloaded them without logging in, I wouldn't have this record of download. So I find that this is a really useful thing to do. So I recommend that you sign up for your own Pexels account and download these videos if you wish to use these videos as part of your portfolio. But for the purposes of this project, I have downloaded all of the clips for you already, and they are in the exercise files folder just to save you time. If you wish to find these video clips on pexels.com in your exercise files folder, in the documentation folder there is a credits folder, and inside this folder I have listed in a credits document all of the links to all of the video clips, sound effects and soundtrack that are used in this project, so that you can click on these links and easily be directed to the landing pages of each of these clips and download them yourself into your own account on pexels.com, so that you have your own record and so that you can easily find them in future. Back to our videos folder. I like this layout because it's like a storyboard layout, so I can organize all of the clips into a particular order and then rename them using numbers so I know what order they're going to be in my edit. Now, this can always change while I'm editing based on how it's going, but in general, it's good to have a storyboard like this before you start editing so you have a good idea of the direction that your project is going in. Great! You now know how to find high quality video. In the next lesson, we are going to start importing our video content. Next lesson, importing video files. In this lesson, we are going to import our first video files into our project. The first method that you can use is to go to File, Import, and then navigate to the folder on your computer where your exercise files are. And within that exercise files folder, go into the video folder. As you can see, all of the video files are listed here. You can click on the name if you're on a Mac or a similar method on a PC to put them in order. It's something that I like to do. It helps me know which clips I'm bringing in first, and it means that I'm working off my storyboard. So for the first clip that we're going to bring in is number 1, Suns Up. Click Import, and it has now been imported into our project panel. All of your clips will be sorted in this section when you import them. And a little later on in this project, we're going to create something called bins, which are basically like folders to organize all of your video files into one bin or folder. But at the moment, as we can only have one clip, we can leave it as it is for now. With the current view that I'm on, I have the ability to scroll through the video footage just by hovering over it. There's no need to click on it. You can just hover over the clip and it will help you preview a video file, which is very helpful. You can also click onto List View. List View is very useful in terms of seeing more information about the clip that you are looking at. So in this case, we can see that the Suns Up clip has a frame rate of 24 frames per second. We can see the duration of the clip, and we can actually scroll across using this scroll bar and see more information about this video. It's Full HD 1920 by 1080. And the audio is 48,000 Hz. You also have freeform view. I don't use this view very often, but you can use this if you wish. My favorite is the icon view. Next, we're going to import some footage using a different method. This time, we're going to double click in the project panel, and that will open our Finder window. So within this folder, we will import our next clips. You can click on the second clip called Wake Up, and then if you hold down the Shift key and go down to the fourth clip and click on that, it will select number 3 in between also. If I wanted to bring in all of the remaining clips, I'd simply click on the second clip, scroll down to the last clip, holding the Shift key, and click on number 28, Rest Up. In this case, I just want to bring in the next 3 clips, so I will click on number 2 again, and number 4, holding down the Shift key, and click Import. Again, you can scroll through clips to preview them. Sometimes they'll be a little delayed depending on the speed of your computer. Next, we're going to use the third method for importing video, which is to drag and drop clips into your project. So we will click on number 5, hold down Shift and click on number 8. And then we will drag and drop these into the project panel. It's really a matter of preference as to which method you use to import your video. Personally, my favorite is the second method of double clicking, but it all depends on you. Next, I'd like to show you what to do if you would like to select multiple clips from the folder, but there are certain clips that you would like to leave out or skip. So in this scenario, you would select one clip, hold down Shift and select the next clip. But then, to skip a clip and select the following clip after that, you would not hold the Shift key, you would hold down the Command or Control key. Command on a Mac, Control on a PC. This helps you skip the clip in between and bring in the following clip. It can be quite a useful shortcut when there's a clip that you would like to skip, if there's a duplicate for example, or if there's a clip that you don't use. But for the next clip in this project, we're actually going to import the rest of the video clips all in one go. So hold down Shift key, scroll down to the bottom and import all of the remaining clips. You can also scroll over the names of the clips in icon view and it will reveal some further information as to the clip if you want a very high level view of the details of that clip. And if you want to put the clips in order, you click on this icon here and scroll up to Name. Then this will put the clips in order if you've named them using a number at the beginning of the name of each file. This can be very useful in terms of looking and searching for clips to edit in line with your storyboard. Great, well done. You've just imported all of the video files that you'll need for this project. In the next lesson, we're going to quickly go through file management. Next lesson, file management. In this lesson, we're going to learn how to organize our files into folders called bins. This is really important as your project goes on because you'll have more and more files in your project panel and it will start to get a little messy. So it's really important that we set up individual bins for each file type, and that will make it easier for us when we are editing, and it will also make it easier for us when we come back to the project in the future. So we will use standardized naming conventions and standardized structures in order to organize these folders. So firstly, let's open the folder or finder on your computer. And as you can see here, I have the standardized naming convention for the folders within the folder on my computer. This is really important because if you're handing your project over to someone else, or if you're coming back to it in the future, you want to have a set folder structure. And those are the names that are generally used for folders when editing in Adobe Premiere Pro. In terms of your project panel, if we navigate down to that, we will scroll down to the New Bin button and we will name it Video. In order to bring the video clips into our new bin, we will select number 28 here, hold down the Shift button and then scroll up to the top and select the first one. This will enable us to select all clips. We will then drag and drop all of these clips into our new video bin. As you can see, there are 29 items now in this video bin. If you wish to go back to your project panel, you simply click on this folder here and it will bring you back up a level into your project panel, and you can then see your video folder with the 29 items in it. As you can see, there are other bins that we need to create because there will be other types of files that we need to bring in. So let's go ahead and do that now, and let's follow the same naming conventions as we have in the folder on our hard drive and create bins with the same names. And you can also right click and create a new bin. We'll start with audio. You can also go to File, New Bin. Let's call this one Soundtrack. The next two bins are going to be called Sound Effects and Graphics. I'll use the New Bin button to create Sound Effects bin. And I'll right click New Bin for the Graphics bin. Let's double click our video bin to prepare for the next lesson. Congratulations, you've just finished the first section setting up your project. In the next section, we will finally start editing. Welcome to section 3. This is what it's all about, editing video clips together to craft your story. We'll start by adding videos to the timeline. Initially, we'll resize them using the selection tool. Then we'll move on to using the razor tool for straight cuts, before progressing onto using the ripple, rolling, slip, and slide tools. Finally, we'll learn how to use our source monitor to edit clips before bringing them into the timeline. If you wish, you can use the completed project file from the last section. It is in your exercise files folder inside the completed project files. Section 2, setting up your project, complete. By the end of this section, you'll know how to use the range of editing tools that are at your disposal in Adobe Premiere Pro. Next lesson, editing in the timeline. In this lesson, we are going to bring our first piece of footage into the timeline and then add a second to begin editing the clips together. As you can see here, I have the timeline highlighted with the blue rectangle around it. And then when I click on the project panel, the blue rectangle goes around the project panel. So this is the timeline over here. And in order to start bringing our footage in, we click on the first clip and then we drag and drop it into our timeline. By doing this, we have now created what is called a sequence. The sequence by default is going to be called the same as the clip. So you can see the clip here on the right hand side in the timeline. And then on the left hand side, you can see that a sequence has been created with the same name. So to avoid confusion, I always rename the sequence to be different from the clip so that I know that this is the sequence that I'm working off. It is distinguished by that slightly different icon on top of the thumbnail, but even so, I like to rename it. So we'll call it Sequence Athleisure. So as you can see here, over in the timeline, our sequence has been renamed also, and we can drag the playhead along our footage in order to scroll through it in the program monitor window, which is above. When it's paused, the image is razor sharp, but when it's playing, it tends to go a little bit blurry because it's putting a bit more pressure on my computer. In order to optimize this, I have it at the lowest resolution so that it will play most smoothly and put the least amount of pressure on my computer from a processing point of view. But you can go to higher resolutions if you wish, and if you have a more powerful computer. But for me, I like to be able to play my edits as I edit, so I put it to 1/4 resolution. As you can see here, when I scroll over the clip in the timeline, I get some high level information highlighted in the pop-up box that appears above it. Looking at all of my clips, there are 28 clips in total. I'm creating a 60-second TV commercial. So what I need to do is I need to have each clip be roughly 2 seconds long. So what I'll do is initially I'll do a rough cut where I'll make each clip approximately 2 seconds. So what I'll do is I will use the selection tool to drag the end of the clip back. As you can see here, I've got it down to just under 2 seconds. There are 24 frames in each second, so it's down to 1 second and 23 frames. It's a little bit small, so I'm going to pull this scroll bar here, which is going to zoom me in to the footage. You can also press plus or minus to zoom in and out, but I like to use this scroll bar at the bottom. I feel it gives me more control and it will zoom into wherever the playhead is. So as you can see, plus and minus works fine too, but I like to use this scroll bar. Now it is time to bring in our second clip. So if you drag and drop number 2, Wake Up, into the timeline and place it beside the first clip. As you can see, this clip is video only. There is no audio on this file, which is okay because we don't need audio. We're going to add our own sound effects and soundtrack later. And I'll bring that down to roughly 2 seconds also. Well done. You've just made your first edit. This edit is called a straight cut. If you wish, you can drag and drop the second clip away from the first clip. At the moment, it is snapping to the first clip. This is because we have snapping switched on. It's like a magnet effect. On some occasions, you may not actually want this on, so you can switch it off and it gives you more control over where you're placing the clip. But in general, it's a very handy tool to have to place footage because it will snap it into position right beside the clip before it. If you would like to edit the first clip and not have a gap when you make the first clip smaller, what you can do is hold down Command or Control as you hover over the end of the clip. And what that will do is that will make the first clip smaller while dragging the second clip beside it so no gap appears. That can be quite handy when you have a lot of other clips later in the timeline and you don't want to have to manually select them and drag them to close that gap again. So it can be quite a handy tool. You can also use it to push the clip that's after it further out without overwriting any of that clip. So it is a very useful tool when you have a lot of clips on your timeline. Congratulations, that is your first edit complete. In the next lesson, we are going to learn how to use the Razor Edit tool. In this lesson, we will learn how to use the Razor Edit tool. Before we use the tool, let's bring in a few more video clips. We can do this by dragging and dropping them into the timeline. You can zoom in and out using this scroll bar. So let's just zoom out a bit to give us an overview of the clips in the timeline. Next, we will position the playhead where we want to make our cut. Just here. You can select the razor tool by clicking the icon or by hitting C and then hold the blade over the clip, and you can see it's snapping to the playhead because we have snapping switched on. And then you can click to make your first cut. We will then delete the section that we do not need anymore, leaving us with 2 seconds of footage from that clip, and we will drag the next clip in and snap it to the previous clip. You can type in where you want the playhead to go by going up, clicking on the time, and inputting the section of the timeline that you'd like to go to. This time, let's use the razor tool to make our edit. Delete the section that we do not need. And now let's press play to see our 4 clips edited together. That's fantastic, we're making great progress. Let's go ahead and bring in 2 more clips. We can drag and drop them into the timeline. Let's go to 10 seconds on our timeline by typing in 10. Select our razor tool, make our cut, but this time instead of just deleting the footage that we do not need anymore, let's remove the gap also by holding down the Alt key and hitting delete. This not only deletes the rest of the clip that we do not need, but it also pulls the next clip in to the playhead, meaning there are no gaps. This speeds up our editing process. Let's drag this clip in to the 2-second mark. As you can see, the clip that is higher up on the video tracks takes priority and is the one that will be viewable in your program monitor. So when they do overlay each other, V2 will be prioritized over V1. But if I click this eye icon, it makes the V2 video track 2 track invisible. This can be useful functionality when your timeline gets quite busy with multiple video tracks and you want to edit a particular clip on one particular video track. You can make the other video tracks invisible. I do not need this audio track on the first clip. If I want to delete it, if I select it without locking the video, it will delete the video also. But if I hit the lock icon on the video track, that means that that cannot be deleted now, and I can delete the blank audio track that's attached to the first video clip. This helps me tidy up my timeline. Well done, you have your first editing cuts done. In the next tutorial, we are going to be using the ripple, rolling, slip and slide tools. In this next lesson, we're going to learn how to use the ripple, rolling, slip and slide tools. So first of all, let's bring some new clips to our timeline. I'll bring number 7, sit up, number 8, push up, and number 9, pull up to our timeline. Now let's say we want to make number 7, sit up, smaller. So let's reduce the duration of our clip number 7, sit up to 2 seconds. And let's do this using the ripple tool. And now if I hover over where the playhead is and I pull the clip, it will make the clip shorter, but it will automatically place the clip against the playhead once more and pull the other 2 clips with it. So you can see there, it's been shortened at the beginning of the clip. And you can also do this at the other side of the clip. So you can shorten it at the end of the clip, you can pull it in, and the clips that are after it will follow. This is an extremely useful tool when you have a lot of clips on your timeline because you don't want to be creating gaps when you make a clip smaller. You want them to automatically be falling in behind the clip that you've just edited. I want the playhead to be at exactly 14 seconds so that it's 2 seconds each per clip. That looks to be exactly correct. If I lock my video track 1, I can then go delete my audio without affecting the video clips. This helps tidy up my timeline. I'll unlock it again. Next, for our push-up clip, let's use the rolling edit tool. The rolling edit tool allows you to edit the endpoint of the clip before the playhead, while also changing the starting point of the clip after where the playhead is without changing the overall duration of the 2 clips. Let's do it here as an example. So here I'm making the sit-up clip longer and I'm making the push-up clip shorter, but the overall duration of the 2 clips is staying the same. And in the program monitor above this, I can see the end point of the previous clip and the start point of the next clip after the playhead. So I can monitor it in the program monitor as I'm doing this, so I can choose the perfect location for this edit. But for the purposes of what we're doing, we want this to be 2 seconds. So let's go back to our ripple edit tool And let's make the push-up clip 2 seconds. Next, let's use the slip tool. The slip tool allows you to change the in and out points of a given clip so that when the clip starts, you can modify at what point exactly in the clip your footage is starting in the timeline. So say for example with this clip here in push-up, I want to have the push-up captured fully within the 2 seconds. So at the moment it's not optimal. I need to slightly modify it in order to capture the full push-up. I use the slip tool by clicking and dragging to the left or to the right to change the in and the out points or the start and the end points within the clip without changing the overall duration of the clip. So you're slipping through the video clip to the section of the clip that you want to be within this 2 seconds. I'm pretty happy with that now. So let's move on to the slide tool. The slide tool allows you to slide the clip to the left or to the right between 2 clips, and it will change their start and end points. Now, bear in mind, the clips that are before and after your clip need to have the capacity to do that. So if they're short clips and they don't have extra content on either side of their end point or their start point, you won't be able to do this. But in this scenario, as you can see, we were able to do it. So let's use our Ripple Edit tool to make the last 3 clips here exactly 2 seconds. This is great. We now have 9 video clips on our timeline already. So as you can see here, I can use the slip tool to choose the perfect start and end point within this 2 seconds of the overall video clip, because I want to capture the motion of the full pull-up, similar to the push-up clip before this. In terms of selecting clips on your timeline, if you want to select multiple clips, you can click and drag over those clips. Alternatively, you can click on one clip, hold down the Shift key, and then click on another clip. The Track Select Forward tool is very useful in terms of selecting all clips on or after the clip that you're selecting. You can also use the backwards tool to do the same function, except selecting all clips behind where you're selecting. You just need to be very careful that you are only selecting what you want to select. For example, if you use this, it will also select the audio clips unless you have those locked on the audio channels. So it's a very useful tool if your timeline is crowded with clips and you want to move everything forward without having to select everything. It's a great tool for that. Congratulations, you now have an editing toolkit. In the next lesson, we are going to learn to edit using the source monitor. In this lesson, we will be editing using the source monitor. The source monitor is a very useful tool when you want to edit a clip before putting it in the timeline. Up until now, we've been dragging and dropping clips into the timeline and editing them, but if we double click on a clip, it will then open in your source monitor. You can then view your clip and make edits before bringing it into the timeline, so you only bring the section that you want from that particular video clip into the timeline. The source monitor works in a similar way to the program monitor. You can scrub through your footage by pressing play or by dragging the playhead along. So as you can see, we can see the full clip in our source monitor, and then based on that, we can choose which section we'd like to bring into the timeline. So if I drag the playhead along here, choose the point I want just before the jump up onto the box, and then I can set my in point by pressing I, which is the start of my clip. And as you can see, it's at 4 seconds and 15 frames. So if I jump to 6 seconds and 15 frames so that it's a 2-second clip that I'm using, I can then press O to set my out mark, which is the end of the clip that I want to bring in to the timeline. This button brings me back to my in point, and if I press play, that looks perfect for the purposes of my project. Next, I need to drag the clip into the timeline and drag from where the footage is, and that will bring in the 2 seconds that I've selected in the source monitor. It won't bring in the section of footage before the in point, and it won't bring in the section of footage after the out point, only the footage in between the in and the out point. So let's say for the next clip, wrap up, if we double click that to open it in our source monitor and we press play, we can see what footage we want to bring in. I want to capture the wrapping of the hand, so this looks like a good in point. I can click here to set an in point. I'll then go up to my time code here and change this from 3 to 5 to move the playhead 2 seconds later. And I can click this button here to set the out point. That's another method for setting your in and out points. Now, as you can see, you can click on either of these two buttons. In this case, it's video only anyway. There is no audio, which is why that button is grayed out. But say if there was audio and you wanted to only bring in video, you could click and drag from this button here, drag video only, and it would leave the audio out when you're dragging the clip into the timeline. That can be very useful when you don't need the audio. So we'll snap that onto the previous clip, and that is that clip done. Next, let's go to climb up. When we double click that, it will open in the source monitor and we can scroll through our footage. And we can set our in point, and we can go to 2 seconds later, 0.4 seconds and 18 frames. And then set the out point. Because this is clip number 11, I would like to place it in between clip number 10 and clip number 12 on the timeline. So I place the playhead in between the two clips, and I then go over to the insert button here, and it will insert the clip from the source monitor into the timeline, and it will only bring in the video content in between the in and the out points. This is the power of the source monitor. You can also use overwrite. That will mean that it will overwrite the clip rather than be inserted in between the two clips. So I'm going to hit Command Z or Control Z to undo that, because I would like 10 and 11 and 12 to all be beside each other. Next, we'll move the playhead to the end of clip number 12. And we'll scroll down. This time, let's use the source monitor to bring multiple clips into the timeline at once. Firstly, we'll prepare clip number 13, Keep Up. Scroll through to the point that we'd like the in point to be set at. Again, go to 2 seconds later, and then press O or click this button to set the out point. Next, we'll work on clip number 14, Head Up. So firstly, let's choose our in point. And I want to capture the moment just before she lifts her head, which is at 7 seconds and 18 frames. And then I wanted to finish 2 seconds after that at 9 seconds and 18 frames. So I've set my in and out points there. That is that clip prepared. And finally, let's work on clip number 15, Freshen Up. And let's do the same again. Let's set our in point. So we'll scroll through the footage and see what would be a good in point. Let's set the in point here. And let's set the out point 2 seconds later at 27 seconds and 18 frames. Okay. So now that we've prepared our 3 clips, they are ready to bring across to the timeline. So if you hold down the Command key on a Mac or Control key on a PC, and then click on 13, 14, and 15, all 3 clips, you can then add all 3 to the timeline using this button over here, Automate to Sequence. You have a few options when doing this. We selected the clips in the order that we want them, so that is perfect in terms of ordering, the selection order. We're placing them sequentially, and it's an overwrite edit, there's nothing there, so that should be fine. The clip overlay, we're going to say 0 frames. We're going to use the in and outs. You can apply the default transitions if you wish, but we haven't gotten to transitions yet, so we can leave them unchecked. And you can also ignore certain types of content on your clips if need be, but we're okay. So let's just click OK. And those 3 clips are now added to the timeline in order that they've been selected and using their in and out points. Let's quickly do that again with the next 5 clips and open up Eat Up into our source monitor. I will scrub through the footage here. This is my ideal in point, and then I will go to 2 seconds later and set my out point by pressing O. So it's I for in and O for out. That's our in and out point set. Next clip, startup. Again, let's scroll through this footage and see where we want our starting point to be with our in point. Let's click our in point button and then go to 2 seconds later and click our out point button. Next, call up. Let's choose the 2 seconds that we want from this clip. Bearing in mind we're going to be overlaying some green screen footage on top of it. So I'm going to set my in point just here. And then I'm going to go to 2 seconds later and set my out point. Great. Next, our green screen footage. Again, bearing in mind we want to choose the ideal section of this video, the ideal 2 seconds. Let's choose a part where she is animated, just here for the in point. And then we'll set our out point 2 seconds later. And finally, our close-up clip. I want to set the in point just before her eyes open, and then set the out point 2 seconds later. Actually, I think I'll set my out point here just so her eyes are fully open, and then go back 2 seconds, set the in point. Now that I've set all of my in and out points, I'll click the first clip, hold down Shift and click the last clip. There are no clips I'm skipping here, so I can use Shift. I'll put my playhead in position, and then I will automate to sequence. So I will click that button, and the options are the same as the last time. All the settings look fine. Okay. Finally, I don't need these 2 audio elements to the last 2 clips, so I will lock my video track, select the 2 audio clips and press delete, and then unlock the video track once again. Well done, you are editing like a pro already. Next up is exercise 1. Next up, let's do our first practice exercise to add the remaining videos. So we are already at the 40-second mark, which means we have approximately 10 more videos to add. Let's do this by opening them in our source monitor, choosing our in and out points, and then dragging the video only element of those video clips into the timeline. If you would like to do this on your own, you can pause now, or you can simply view me adding the videos. But as always, the completed exercise file is provided at the end of this section. So if you want to skip on to the next lesson, you can do that either. You'll be able to find this completed project file in your exercise files if you go to Project Files, Completed Project Files, Section 3, Editing Complete. Okay, so I am going to double click on each clip that I would like to bring into the timeline. This will open it in my source monitor. I'll show you the exact in and out points that I chose. You can choose your in and out points using what we learned in the previous tutorials. I always find I and O the quickest way, but you can choose your method. And we will quickly get all of these videos added. Let's do this. Well done, that's your first practice exercise complete. In the next section, we're going to add a soundtrack to our video. Welcome to section 4. In this section, we're going to learn how to add a soundtrack to our video project. We're going to learn where to find high quality soundtracks, how to find the right one on those platforms, then import it into our project and add it to our sequence. We will then learn how to adjust the volume and check the levels of our soundtrack, as well as time the soundtrack to our edits. Finally, we will learn how to add audio transitions to our soundtrack. If you wish, you can go to your exercise files and use the completed project file from the last section that I have provided. Section 3, editing complete. By the end of this section, you'll know how to find high quality soundtracks, add them to your video projects, adjust the volume, and add audio transitions. Let's get started. In this lesson, we're going to learn how to find a high quality soundtrack. A great place to find good music is on pixabay.com. You can find photos, illustrations, vectors, videos, music, and sound effects. But for the purposes of this lesson, we are going to look at music. So let's click on music. As you can see here, there are songs automatically displayed on the page, and you can search for different artists, songs, genres, moods, and more. What I like to do is to use the filters. I find it's the quickest way to find the type of music that I'm looking for my project. For example, in terms of movement, if I click on Elegant, it will list these songs here on the right hand side. I have selected The Introvert by Michael Coburn. So let's press play. This sounds ideal for our athleisure commercial because it isn't too fast, it isn't too slow, it's somewhere in the middle, and it builds as the song goes on, which suits our project, and there's a crescendo at the end. It's worth noting that it can take quite a bit of time to find the right soundtrack for your project, but it is always worth the search, so I recommend putting the work in here and it will pay off. If I click this arrow here, I can see how many people have liked it, played it, downloaded it, which gives an indication of its popularity. If a song is highly popular, that can be great because it's a good song, but it can also be a slight negative because it's widely used already. In this case, I like this song. I am going to download it. Here are the details for attribution to Michael Coburn. So I will put this in my project to give attribution to this artist. I can also download my certificate, which is an audio license certificate, which is good to keep a copy of for future reference if ever a question arises as to where did the soundtrack come from. You can also scroll down to the bottom of the homepage to the FAQ section if you have any more questions. Especially in terms of licensing, you can see everything which is allowed and not allowed on this page. For the purposes of our project, we can use this file and the terms of service are there also. So here is the song in my downloads, and also here is the license certificate that comes with it. So as you can see, I have my license certificate with my username. I highly recommend that you set up your own Pixabay account if you wish to use this soundtrack for your own projects, because it will mean that you have your own license and you have it easily accessible in your account. You can also see the MP3 file here. So I'm going to copy that MP3 from my downloads, bring it into my exercise files, and paste it into my soundtrack folder. Next, I'm going to open Adobe Media Encoder because the file is currently in MP3 format, and in my experience, this format sometimes doesn't export properly from Adobe Premiere. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change it into a WAV file. I can do this by dragging and dropping my file into my media encoder. I can see that it's been changed there into waveform audio. 48 kilohertz, 16-bit, and I can choose the location where it's saved also in my soundtrack folder. And I click this Start Queue button to encode my MP3 file as a WAV file. And there it is in my soundtrack folder. Great, we now have a soundtrack. Next, we will be importing the soundtrack into our project. In this lesson, we are going to import our soundtrack. To import your soundtrack, first of all, go to your soundtrack bin here and double click. Next, you can double click again to open your import window. At the moment, I am in my video folder. I need to navigate out of that, back into my exercise files, and then go into soundtrack. And then I will import my WAV file because that is the best quality for Adobe Premiere Pro. Now I'm going to need to drag it from the soundtrack bin here over into my timeline. So I'll click and drag over to my timeline. As you can see there, the soundtrack has now appeared underneath my video footage. And I can press play to listen to the music along with the footage. It's important to decide quickly if it's the right soundtrack for your project. I went through a lot of different soundtracks before this one just to find the right one, both in terms of suiting the brand, but also in terms of suiting the footage. So I found that this soundtrack was ideal for what I was trying to achieve. Congratulations, you've just added music. In the next lesson, we are going to adjust the volume of our soundtrack. In this lesson, we are going to be adjusting the soundtrack's volume. First of all, let's make our audio track larger so that we can see it in more detail. You can hover over here and pull down the track. You can see the waveforms of the audio here. The waveforms show you when the volume increases and decreases and helps show you the beats of the music. This will be really useful in a later tutorial. We're going to want to check the audio meter. So if it isn't switched on your workspace, you can go to Window Audio Meter. Then you want to make it the right size. So you can expand or minimize it here. But for the purposes of this lesson, you'll want to have it expanded. This will show you how loud your clip is as you play it. So we press play. So you can see the bars there are indicating when your clip gets loud. And if your clip is getting too loud, you can see that it starts to go yellow and red at the top. It's still within the safe parameters. Really, you're aiming for -6 and -12. But if it goes any higher, 0 or above, then you'll get some red warnings. You can increase or decrease the volume of the clip by pulling this line up or down. So as you can see, as I pull it down, it's going minus in decibels. But if I pull it up, it's increasing in volume and it's increasing in decibels. Now, if I press play, you can see that we are hitting that warning red color because I have increased the volume too much on the soundtrack. This audio meter really helps you know, is your audio clip within the safe parameters in terms of volume. Sometimes it can be hard to tell because the volume on your device might be up or down. So this audio meter really helps show you what volume it should be. So as it's playing, you can pull the volume line up and down, and then you can find the level that you want it to be at. -5.72 dB sounds about right. If we go back to the start of the timeline and play it, these initial sounds are a little too low. They don't really stand out for the start of the commercial. So I think we're going to need to increase the volume of the start of the clip, but then not increase the volume of the overall clip. To do this, we're going to use the pen tool. So you can click on the pen icon or press P, and then along the volume line on your clip, if you click, it creates keyframes. Keyframes allow you to adjust the volume at certain points in the soundtrack without increasing the volume of the overall soundtrack. So I'm going to put 2 at the start and 2 at the end. This means I can use the 2 in the middle to increase the volume of the initial part of the soundtrack. So I'm clicking and raising to lift this up, and it's coming down again in a gradual fashion for when the clip naturally increases in volume. Okay, so let's listen to that and see how it sounds. It looks good on the audio meter and it sounds good, so that change is working for us. Well done, you've just set the volume of your soundtrack. In the next tutorial, we will be timing your video edits with the soundtrack. In this lesson, we are going to learn to time edits with the soundtrack. Timing edits with the soundtrack will make your video more impactful. As we can see here, the first edit is not in line with the waveform of the first increase in volume in the soundtrack. By aligning these two, it makes the edit more powerful and the overall video more powerful. To get started, let's use the Ripple Edit tool to bring the end of the first clip in line with the waveform increasing in height here. Let's move the playhead to the beginning in the increase of the height of the waveform. And then let's use the Ripple Edit tool to make the first clip longer and make the end of the first clip go in line with the waveform. As you can see, they are now lined up by using the playhead. Let's increase the size of our video track just so we can see what video clip we are working with easily. Okay, so let's move the playhead to the next increase in the audio waveform. And then let's again use the Ripple Edit tool to bring the end of the second clip in line with this increase in the height of the waveform. Perfect. Let's move the playhead once more to the next increase in the height of the waveform. Let's bring our third clip in line with that increase in the waveform. Okay, let's move the playhead to the fourth increase in the waveform, and let's use the Ripple Edit tool once more to decrease the size of the fourth clip while pulling along all the other clips to close the gap. Let's move the playhead once more. Clip number 5, again, Ripple Edit tool brings all the other clips in line with the playhead, and it also decreases the size of the fifth clip so that the sixth clip is starting in line with the increase in the waveform. So let's play that to see how it sounds and demonstrate how much more impactful it makes the video. Great, that's it. Now we just need to do it for the rest of the video. So I have gone through the audio already and I've marked out the time codes of all of the audio edits. So we can quickly go through these, make the edits, and then play it at the end to show how more impactful it makes it. So first of all, let's go to 1022 and let's use the Ripple tool to bring clip number 6 to 1022. Next, let's go to 1308. Again, use the Ripple Edit tool to bring clip number 7 to that point. Let's go to 1509 and use the Ripple Edit tool to bring clip number 8 to that point. And we can zoom in to make sure we're doing it exactly to the playhead. Snapping is switched on, which makes it easier. Next, let's go to 1708 and shorten clip number 9 using the Ripple Edit tool to bring the video clip to that point. Next, let's go to 1922 and use the Ripple Edit tool to extend clip number 10 to that point. Sometimes when I'm doing this, I like to play from the beginning again to give me a feel for how the video is coming together. So let's do that up until the 19-second point. Okay, great. So we can see how those edits are really having an impact by editing the video in line with the beats of the soundtrack. Next, let's go to 2111, and sometimes it's easier to actually type it in to the time code to find that exact point. And let's use our Ripple Edit tool to make clip number 11 shorter to meet that edit. Next, let's type in 2220 and use the Ripple Edit tool to bring clip number 12 to that point. Next, let's move the playhead to 24:09 and use the ripple edit tool to make video clip number 13 shorter to that point. Next, let's type in 25:20 and use the ripple edit tool to bring clip number 14 down to that point. Next, let's go to 27:04 to make clip number 15 shorter. We'll use the ripple edit tool again. Bring clip number 16 to 28:18. We are over halfway there now. Let's go to 31 seconds and 17 frames and make clip number 18 shorter to that point. And again, let's play the video to get a feel for how the first half of the commercial sounds with those edits in place in line with the soundtrack. Okay, that sounds great. This is worth all of the effort. Let's continue for the second half of the video. Our next clip is our green screen clip. So we have the background video and we have the foreground video. And what we need to do is we need to lift the green screen clip over the background video. And then we're going to highlight all of the clips after that and drag them to beside the background video. So as you can see, the green screen clip is now above the background video. It is on video track 2, whereas the background video is on video track 1. But for the purposes of what we're doing here, we can select both clips, put the playhead at 34:17, and then drag both clips using the ripple edit tool to that point. So this means that both clips are exactly in position, timed with the soundtrack, and we can remove the green element in a later tutorial. Next, let's go to 36:04 and use the ripple edit tool to make clip number 19 shorter to that point. Then we will go to 37:14 and we will make clip number 20 shorter to that point using the ripple edit tool. Next is 38 and 23 frames. And we'll bring clip number 21 to that point. Next is 40 seconds and 11 frames. And we will shorten clip number 22 to that point using the ripple edit tool. Next we have 41:20. Again, we'll use the ripple edit tool to shorten clip number 23 to that point. And if we zoom out here and put in 43:05 and use the ripple edit tool to shorten clip number 24 to that point. Next up is 44:17. We'll use the ripple edit tool to shorten clip number 25 to that point. Next up is 46 and 7 frames. And we'll shorten clip number 26 to that point. Next is 47 seconds and 15 frames. And we'll use the ripple edit tool again to shorten clip number 27 to that point. Second last clip to 50 seconds and 16 frames. And then lastly, 57 seconds and 5 frames. We will drag our last clip to that point. As you can see, the soundtrack is longer than our video content. So what we'll do is we'll drag the playhead to exactly 1 minute. So I will type in 1:00:00. So my playhead is exactly at that 1 minute mark, and then I will click and drag my soundtrack to this point so that it is exactly cut off at 1 minute. Lastly, I will drag the last clip to the end point of the video. There will be a gap there, and in a later tutorial we will fill that gap with graphics and titles. Well done! Our video is now perfectly timed with the soundtrack. In the next video, we will work on our audio transitions and manual audio mixing. In this lesson, we are going to learn about audio transitions and manual remixing. Okay, so we are going to focus on the end of our video. As you can hear, the soundtrack does not have a natural end at the end of the video. Instead, it starts building again. What we need to do is, we need to cut out the section at the end of the soundtrack that doesn't match the end of the video, and then we need to remix it so that it has a natural ending. So we are going to cut here at 54 seconds and 21 frames. And we will delete that section. And then we are going to zoom out. I'm going to go to Windows, Workspaces, Editing, Windows, Workspaces, Reset to Saved Layout, just so that we all have the same view here in our project panel. I'm going to click into my soundtrack and I'm going to drag the exact same soundtrack in to audio track 1. What I want to do is I want to go back to the start of the soundtrack to signify the start of the daily routine again, but blend it in with the audio before. So let's move the playhead to about here, 10206, and shorten the clip to that point, and then drag the overall clip to the audio clip before it. Press play to hear how these two soundtrack clips go together. I can hear that there isn't a natural transition. So what I need to do is zoom in. I need to cut out this initial section a little bit more, drag it across so that it connects with the previous version of the soundtrack. Then I need to work on the transition further. So I'm going to take out that section there and see how that sounds. Okay, that's much better. We will add an audio transition in a minute, but first I'm going to bring the playhead to the 1 minute mark. I'm going to zoom out and I'm going to drag the soundtrack to shorten it to exactly that 1 minute mark there, and it will snap on at the end. Okay, let's zoom in. Next up, I'm going to go into Effects. I'm going to add an audio transition between the two soundtrack clips. I'm going to choose constant power and drag and drop it in between the two clips. That will smooth out the transition between the two clips. I'm going to add constant power at the end of the second audio clip also, so that it fades out at the end of the video. Congratulations, you've just completed the entire soundtrack section. And that's it, you've just taken your first steps in learning Adobe Premiere Pro. You've completed the first 4 sections of this course. If you'd like to do the other 7 sections, please sign up from the link below. I will be posting more free courses on here, so please subscribe. See you soon.